Aloha, y'all. Welcome to my channel, The Socially Awkward Chef. And Congee Fat Choy. It is Chinese New Year. It is actually Year of the Rabbit, to be exact. Therefore, I am going to celebrate by making chicken Jook, which is also known as congee, which is essentially a rice porridge. Definitely has some humble beginnings, very, very simple food, but it actually represents good fortune in Chinese culture. And it's actually a really great soup to have when you're not feeling really well, or if it's just cold and rainy out. It's good any time of year. And to keep it even simpler, I just am going to use a store-bought rotisserie chicken. So pick your favorite place to get a chicken and you're already halfway there. So the first thing that I'm going to do is take off the drumsticks, and I'm going to also take off a little bit of the skin, just because I'm not really going to need that for this particular recipe, and I don't want to have to remove grease. That's just an extra step for this particular recipe. And just for now, I'm just going to set it aside. Same thing with the wings, and the nice thing is at this point you don't even really need to use a knife. That one's not coming off so easily, so no worries. So next up, I'm just going to kind of get into this thigh meat here. And again, we just want to take off some of that skin. Now for this Jook, we're actually not going to use all of the chicken, unless you are cooking for a crowd, in which absolutely go for it. But for this recipe, I'm actually just going to reserve some of the breast meat and maybe some of the thigh meat, and then the rest I'm going to use for a different recipe. But let's see what we end up with. So on this side, I'm removing the breast. And it doesn't really matter what it looks like, because we're going to take the rest of this chicken and put it in a stock pot and cook the crap out of it to get some beautiful chicken stock going. Okay, now we're on to the thigh meat. And mind you, this is not exactly neat work, so it's okay if you get a little bit of shrapnel. We can always clean that up. And then back here on the back of the chicken, there's these little guys here. They're called oysters, and there's just a pair of them. And those are also pretty tasty and tender if you just want to snack on something earlier. If not, again, you can set them aside for our stock. I think we're going to stick with this. So I've got this bit of the bird. I'm actually just going to put it into my stock pot, which I have just off camera. I'm going to cover it with water, literally just until it's covered. I'm going to bring it to a boil, and then I'm going to turn the heat down to let it simmer for a couple of hours. So I will see y'all then. As you can see, I've got my chicken in here and I've covered it just to the top with water. So just to recap, I've got the chicken bones, that the 2 wings, the 2 drumsticks, and then what was left of the chicken after I pulled apart all the meat. And then also to that, I'm going to add in 4 whole cloves of garlic. And there's no need to peel these because we're going to remove everything at the end. And then I also have about 2 inches of ginger that I just cut into coins. So I'm going to add that straight in as well. And last but not least, a couple of tablespoons of kosher salt. Okay, so for this, again, I'm going to bring it to a boil, and then I'm going to reduce it to simmer for 2 hours. And then, of course, I'm going to check on it in between. It has been a couple of hours, so I'm going to go ahead and remove my chicken and the veggies that I put in here, the aromatics, excuse me. And I'm going to just move this off to a bowl. And incidentally, I did find half of an onion, so I went ahead and tossed it in here to add a little bit more flavor to the soup. If you wanted to concentrate this stock more, you absolutely could boil it for a lot longer than 2 hours if you desire, but I think this is pretty good for the congee that we're making. I'm going to try and get out as much as possible. I also gave the broth a taste earlier, and it needed a little bit more salt, so I'm going to add some soy to it, and I would say about a tablespoon. I went ahead and raised the heat to medium, and now I'm going to add in 3/4 of a cup of medium grain rice, which is just Japanese rice. I went ahead and washed it and drained it. We're going to give this a stir. Now at this point, you don't want your rice to get clumpy, so you're going to kind of need to keep an eye on this. And I would say give this a check every 10 minutes or so, just to make sure that you're scraping the bottom so nothing is sticking together. I'll check back in about 30 minutes and we'll take a look and see how it's going. Okay, so it's been about 30 minutes and everything is looking good. And as you can see, the rice here is getting nice and poofy. And the goal for this is we want to kind of really cook it down. And that way it's almost going to look creamy. So you won't see this differentiation here between the broth and the rice. So I'm going to let this go for probably another 15 minutes, and I will continue to give it a stir every 5 to 6 minutes so it doesn't stick, and we'll see what it looks like then. It's been another 15 minutes, so we're going to give this another stir, and as you can see, everything is starting to look really kind of creamy, and the rice is kind of blending into the broth. So at this point, I'm going to add in some of the chicken that I shredded earlier. And by all means, I still have some left over, so unless you're making a super big batch, you will definitely have some chicken leftovers. And from here, that's your basic chicken congee or jook. I am actually going to add some chopped baby bok choy and Shanghai bok choy because I want to get some veggies in there. I'm going to give this a stir. Now these are also going to cook for probably another 3 minutes or so. And you can also go ahead and give your congee a taste and adjust any seasonings that you like. If you need to add more salt or shoyu. I'm also going to add in some tofu. And we're just going to let the veggies cook and the tofu warm up. So probably be a few more minutes and then we are ready to plate up. My Jook is ready to eat, so I've got some toppings already prepared. So I'm going to start with a little bit of white pepper, a little dabble do ya, and then I've got some cilantro, and of course, put what you like, and if you don't care for any of these, no worries. I've got some green onions, and then I've got some chopped up jalapeno. And then I also have some sambal on the side, just in case I want to add a little bit more heat to it. And there you have it. Chicken Jook or congee, all ready to go for your Chinese New Year. Kung hei fat choy. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if so, please give me a like, share, and subscribe. And until we eat again, aloha.